Rome didn't end in 476. That's just the version most people know. What actually happened is far more important. Because while the West collapsed, the Roman state continued. And what followed was not an ending. It was a transformation. If you want to understand how power really works, how money, military, and loyalty shape the rise and fall of civilizations, subscribe and follow the story. Now let's continue. In the West, imperial rule was gone. Italy was now controlled by Odoacer, a military strongman who ruled without imperial title. The imperial insignia were sent east, to Zeno. This changed everything. For the first time, there was no division. Only one emperor, ruling from Constantinople. But unity did not mean stability. Zeno faced revolts from within his own court. Generals turned against him. At one point, he was forced to abandon the capital. He returned, but his reign was survival, not strength. By the time he died in AD 491, the empire had endured, but it was still fragile. Fragile empires don't fall in one moment. They decay over time. That was the real problem Rome faced. The man who understood this was Anastasius I. He approached power differently. Instead of raising armies, he rebuilt systems. He redesigned taxation, removing corrupt middlemen who inflated collections. He insisted taxes be paid in coin, not goods, which stabilized currency and restored trust in the economy. He reduced unnecessary military spending, but not at the expense of critical frontiers. One of his major projects, the Anastasian Wall near Constantinople, a defensive barrier designed to stop invasions before they reached the capital. This was strategy, not expansion, but control. By AD 518, when he died, the empire was no longer unstable. It was disciplined, financially secure, and ready for something it hadn't attempted in decades: offensive war. Then came a different kind of ruler, Justinian I. He inherited a stable empire, but stability was not his goal. He wanted restoration, not survival, not defense, but reconquest. To achieve that, he needed someone who could win. That man was Belisarius. His first major test came against the Sasanian Empire. For centuries, Rome and Persia had matched each other, power for power. At Dara, AD 530, that balance was tested again. Belisarius faced a larger force, but instead of reacting, he controlled the battle before it began. He reshaped the terrain. A trench system cut across the battlefield, forcing the Persian army to break formation as they advanced. His infantry held the center, not to win, but to delay. His real strength was hidden. Cavalry placed on both wings, held back at the right moment. When the Persians committed to the attack, their formation stretched. That was the weakness. Belisarius struck. Flank attacks. Coordinated timing. The center held just long enough for the sides to collapse. This was not brute force. It was controlled warfare. Dara proved something critical. Rome had changed how it fought. With confidence restored, Justinian moved west. North Africa fell quickly. Italy was different. It became a long, brutal war. Cities changing hands, armies exhausted. Victory came, but it was costly. Expansion pushed the empire to its limits. Resources stretched thin. And then came something no army could defeat: the Plague of Justinian. It disrupted trade, reduced population, weakened military strength. The system Anastasius built was under pressure again. The empire survived, but it would never return to Justinian's peak. Rome had not disappeared, but was no longer the same power. It had shifted from a conquering empire to a resilient state. Modern historians call it the Byzantine Empire, but its people had a simpler name: Rome. The empire survived, but survival was only the beginning. I told you the fall of Rome was only the beginning. Now you see what that beginning looked like: survival, adaptation, and the dream of reconquest. But new enemies were rising, and the next war would change everything again.